wow, you can actually tell how tired I am. Interesting. Hi. Hey. Hi. It's me. Your boy. This is the wrap-up for Orilium, or part of it at least. Look at me. I remembered to do the intro before actually starting to talk about the books. I finished Soul Eater Massive Volume 1. That's all I have to tell you. I finished this. I'm still feeling kind of slumpy. I was in August. I don't know, in August my reading mood just tanked, so I'm still feeling that. So I thought, okay, let's do the easy shit first. That's probably going to bite me in the ass later on, but for now I'm doing whatever I want. So I read Soul Eater Massive Volume 1, which is a massive tome that combines the first 3 volumes of Soul Eater, which is the first 9 chapters, which in total equates with all the bonus stuff and like the read other mangas in the back to 576 pages. So I read a tome in like 3 days. I don't even know how to review this, to be quite honest, because I have read Soul Eater so many times at this point. I just know what happens, and I can't really give you an accurate rating, I'd say, because I have read this so many times, because there are so many memories attached to different volumes of Soul Eater. In this one, you have the prologues of our main characters, Maka and Soul, Blackstar and Tsubaki, and Death the Kid and the Thompson sisters. And they all have their own little prologue. Then we have the lesson they have first with Sid, the zombie teacher, and then with my favorite character, Dr. Stein. I love him. He is amazing. If you ever question how much I love this character, just know I still have his cosplay. I'm just saying. I love this character so much. He is so dumb. Amazing. So we have that, and then we also have the Legend of the Sword. So we have the first very horrible Excalibur chapter in here, and we have the first 2 chapters of Krona in here. So Krona's first appearance in the church when Krona is like Grell from Black Butler. No one really knows Krona's gender. And as I have now found out, in the original volumes I have, Krona uses he, him pronouns. In this one, they actually use she, her pronouns. So maybe in the past like 10 years, Krona transitioned in their own storyline. So I don't quite know what pronouns to use for Krona. Let's go with they, them for now. But yeah, we have the chapter when Krona first appears with the demon sword, and when Krona injures Soul, and how all of that plays out, and we have the introduction of Medusa and the witches. So just, you know, the first 3 volumes of this manga laying the groundwork for all that is to come. Who would have thunken? I gave this 4 stars. I know I gave the original volume 1, 2, and 3 almost all of them 5 stars, because I loved the prologues, I loved the introduction of Stein, of Sid, of all of these characters, but I remember that I viscerally hated Excalibur. I still hate Excalibur, but it's the fun kind of hate. Like, Excalibur is not meant to be liked. That is like the whole point of Excalibur. It's just there, and you can hate it, and that is what I do. So I viscerally hated that again, but now it's like in this one whole thing, so I can't give it like the 5 stars, blah. But everything else is just amazing. That little training session with like the buckets, always funny when they pull faces, and I mean, just, I don't know what it is, but this is one of my favorite frames. It's when Stein, the first time he has a weapon in hand, like the kids are terrified of him because he can do all of this cool, awesome shit without having a weapon, and then he wields a weapon for the first time, and Maka's like, oh shit! And it's not just a weapon, he's allowed to wield a death scythe. So everything is just super awesome, mega duper cool. And I love him. I love him, what can I say? I love him. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars, and with this I fulfilled the prompt of read something that has a vertical title. I forgot what class that was for, but I read it. Yay. It is I again, because I finished 2 more things. But I can tell you immediately, this month is cursed. It's cursed. Why is it cursed? Because both of these reads were not on my original TBR. They were basically me last minute switch outs, but not because I changed my TBR, but because I had to. Because I started Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. And I got, I think, 44% into it, and I was so incredibly bored by it. Like, everyone says this book is amazing. It's boring. I was so bored. And I actually had a theory while I was reading the book why I was bored and why everyone else thought this was amazing. Because I realized the people I've been watching BookTube, Book Talk, I've been on the internet, and every single person who says Dungeon Crawler Carl is amazing, I realized they don't really have anything to do with tabletop RPGs. They, from what I've seen, are not people who play tabletop RPGs, or at least not on a regular basis. And all of these people rave about Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I made it to the 44% point, and I was like, nah, this is so boring. I have so much to read this month. This is not worth it. So I DNF'd that one, and I started looking at reviews for Dungeon Crawler Carl. My theory is probably correct, because a lot of people who rated this book on the lower end, or even DNF'd it, said the same thing. If you are active in the tabletop RPG space, this book is boring. So I DNF'd that one because I am active in the tabletop RPG space. So I thought Dungeon Crawler Carl was boring, and I DNF'd that. So I was thinking about buying a scroll that allows me to DNF a book, and then I was like, nah, what about reading a comic? So I picked up Rat Queens by... I forgot the author's name, because Red Queens had a little bit of a fuck up in terms of people who are writing it and people who are illustrating it and all that shit. Anyway, I read the first volume, and it's a stretch to count it for the prompt, because the prompt is that it needs to have a dungeon, a secret lair, something like that. There's not really a secret lair in here, but we see the Red Queen's base of operations. And it's not really a villain lair or a dungeon, but they do go into a cave for like half a second. I count it. Don't at me, I count it. But yeah, I read volume 1 of Red Queens instead of Dungeon Crawler Carl for that prompt, so I don't have to buy the scroll for the DNF. And Red Queens is just funny. Like, where Dungeon Crawler Carl is just boring for people who play TTRPGs, Red Queens is fucking funny. Red Queens is just, it has all of the tropes, from your D&D game, and it doesn't try to change it, which makes it perfect, because that shit is funny enough all on its own. And I love that these ladies, like, if you don't know, the Red Queens is a adventuring party made up only of women, and you have a halfling or goblin rogue. You have I think she's supposed to be a cleric, but she's not religious, so that is interesting. She might also just be a warlock. I'm not quite sure. Her powers come from an evil tentacle monster. We have a wizard lady, and we have a dwarven fighter. I think she's a fighter. And they just fuck shit up in this town, together with a bunch of other adventuring groups. So the town is like, no, we need to think of how to stop them. We cannot stomach another bar crawl that destroys 17 buildings. And then they are sent on different quests to just get them out of the city. And then shit goes haywire because assassins suddenly happen. So that was cool. And it's just, it's stupid, it's fun, I love these ladies, they take absolutely no shit, not even from each other. It's just, yes, that Red Queens was good fun. I will definitely continue this series, even though it's a bit of a shit show later on in terms of order for the reading, because again, the person who made it, just shit happened in the background. But yeah, I very much enjoyed this one, and I gave it 4 stars, I believe. Before I picked up Dungeon Crawler Carl, I picked up Saltblood by Francesca De Torres, I think is their name. And that one too was so boring! I thought I would get some gender-bendery high seas pirate adventure, because this one is a retelling of Mary Read. The pirate lady! But it was more of a autobiography telling of her life. Again, I made it about halfway through. Somewhere I think I DNF'd somewhere between 30 and 50%. There was no pirating going on. Like, we were on a ship for a hot second, but like, it just didn't kick with me. The descriptions of the work on a ship, they were okay, but everything else, again, it just read like a boring autobiography. Very dry, a lot of telling, and nothing was really happening. I didn't even reach the pirate part. But I was so bored by this first half, basically, that I checked reviews this time before I decided to DNF, because I was already basically in the mindset of I need to DNF this, so give me a reason not to DNF this book. So I looked at the reviews, not caring about spoilers, and apparently the second half is even more boring, and there is no real high seas pirate adventure, and this whole thing is more of an autobiography than this high seas gender-bendery pirate adventure. So I DNF'd that one as well. And I thought to myself, hey, I can just buy a scroll to have that DNF count. And then I found a book with water on the cover, and I was like, I might as well slide that in. So I read Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. And oh my god, was that a good choice? Again. Because everyone is raving about Piranesi, and like this, it's this beautiful magical realism speculative fiction piece with like beautiful writing and blah, and I'm like, yes, that is, all of that is true. What no one ever talks about is the mystery aspect of this. There's a mystery aspect of this. Everyone is just talking about Piranesi living in this very weird house. That is what you get from the blurb, and that is the main point of this book. Piranesi is just a guy. He's, by the way, not a faun like you see on the cover. He's just a guy. He's a human. And he lives in this very strange house. That is true. There are a lot of statues in there, a lot of vestibules. That is very, very true. This house is his whole world. But there is a mystery aspect to this whole thing, because Piranesi is a quote-unquote scientist. He sees himself as a scientist, so he is exploring this house, this enormous house, and he's trying to figure out where he came from, where all these statues come from, what the statues mean. He is analyzing the tides in this house, because parts of this house are flooded and the water moves from room to room, so you need to know what you're doing. And then there's this mystery aspect to it. I'm not going to say more about the mystery aspect, because that is very much, you need to experience that for yourself. But people need to start mentioning the mystery aspect in this book, because, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. Like, I was right there with Piranesi in this house thinking about, how does this work? Where does shit come from? Where did he come from? I was trying to figure out what is going on with this house. And then the rest of the mystery hits, and it's so good. You get answers, but the answers give more questions. It's so good. It's so good. It's very much a book that follows the vibes. You need to trust the book to get you there. You need to let yourself be carried by the tides, so to speak. But wow, that was such a great read. That was such a great read. I also recommend the audiobook for that one, because that's good shit. That's good shit. But yeah, you have to go with the flow with that one. Let the book guide you. Maybe you too realize at the end that the house is very nice. But yeah, I gave this 4.5 stars. It did not quite get there to the 5-star. Not quite, but it was very close. Very close. It was a very high 4.5 star. Very close to 5 star. This month is either cursed or blessed, because 2 DNFs, but at the same time, both of these DNFs led to really good reads. Interesting. 3 books down. So many more to go. Back again with a walkie update. So I apologize for any planes in the vicinity and the clinking of the lead. But I finished another thingamathing thing, namely Berserk by, I believe, Kentaro's... what's his name? But I finally read Berserk after a lot of people on the internet said, if you like Dark Souls, if you like Bloodborne, read Berserk. And so far I don't see the similarities, but at the same time I do see the similarities. Mind you, I'm only 1 volume in, so there's that. But it was a good the main character certainly went berserk a couple of times. He's quite an asshole, honestly. So I see the potential for character depth, in there. Like there were seeds where it's like something is there, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be exploited in the coming volumes. For the first volume, he's just an asshole. But I mean, given his situation, that's totally fine. And I love his skill of diplomacy, where he just walks in, kills a bunch of people, and says, "Hey, bring me your big bad leader. I need to talk to him." And then he just kills them as well. Top-notch diplomacy. How very Klingon of him. But he does that for a reason. I mean, it's not like a super secret reason. I'm pretty sure it's like, okay, you have X amount of high-ranking bad guys, and you need to kill them all because the end of the world will happen otherwise. There is the connections are already visible, even though it's just the first volume of plenty. But yeah, I like that one. I like that one. I gave it 4 stars. I just hope that the assholery is going to either go down a bit, or we get like a decent amount of non-assholery alongside it. You know? But yeah, I liked it. The biggest connection I have seen to Bloodborne yet is the rune he has on his neck, because that looks like half of the old hunter's rune from Bloodborne. Now I know why I think so many people have wrong Bloodborne tattoos. They have Berserk tattoos. Hello, please excuse the look. It is very early. Like, it's not even 9 a.m. and I'm filming this. But I need to talk to you about things that I read, right? So this is what is going on right now. I finished 2 things, namely the short stories that were on my TBR for I think one was for the dice prompt, and the other one was for an emotion in a title. For the dice prompt, I read The 6 Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow, which is part of, I think, a 6-part short story collaboration between some very heavy-hitting authors. Like, there are some big names in there. And I read this one, and this is about a girl. Oh, it's hard to describe because it's 30 pages long, and it does a lot of things in those 30 pages. So it's about a girl, and she gets picked up by a prince, and this prince basically raises her to become a warrior, and she's really, really good at what she's doing because she has a saint of war in her ear who is telling her crucial details about big battles. So she just wins shit, like, all the time, and she helps this prince become a king, the king become an emperor, and blah blah blah. But there's something more sinister going on, and that is all I can say, because everything else would be spoilers for a 30-page short story. Reviewing short stories is always kind of hard, but the way it was written was just so good. This is such a good short story. It's such a good short. It's so beautiful. It's very good. I liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was really good. And the other short story I finished is In the Hands of an Angry God by... You see it on screen. In the Hands of an Angry God is the story of what happened down at the bottom of the mountain while Moses was upstairs getting a text message from God, right? We all know the story. Moses goes up the mountain, has a little chit-chat with God. God gives him a little clay tablet, and then Moses comes down and is like, okay, these are the rules we are playing by starting now, only to figure out that one of the rules has already been broken because the people downstairs didn't know what to do without their leader, right? The story of the golden calf. And In the Hands of an Angry God is pitched as, and the blurb says so as well, is basically the story of what happened at the foot of the mountain. What happened that they built the calf. So I was going in expecting a retelling twist on, like, just a different perspective of the whole story, right? It's not that at all. Like, yeah, we built the golden calf, but that is like only an issue for like 2 pages. I thought the whole story will be about the creation of the golden calf and then the consequences that God delivers while he is also up on the mountain talking with Moses. I didn't expect Moses to just be there. I didn't expect anything of what happened in that short story, to be honest. You know how the title says you are in the hands of an angry God? Our main character certainly is in the hands of God, but I don't think God was angry. He was jealous, was a very jealous God, but the way that jealousy was expressed was not through anger. I would actually say a more fitting title would be In the Hands of a Very Horny God. Like, I mean, it's a very interesting concept, because, like, the story, I thought again, I thought it was like, okay, story of the golden calf, God comes down, is pissed because false idol smites the hell out of people. No, no. So you have this guy who was left in charge while Moses was doing his business, right? And he's like, okay, we always build these golden calves, so let's build another golden calf for guidance. Cool, they do it. Moses comes down, is pissed, tells him, go away, feel sorry about what you did. So he has to, this main character, I forgot his name, but this main character has to basically live outside of camp for a hot second, and like without the support of the camp. So he has to figure out how to survive on his own, basically, while the camp is like in sight, but he is not allowed to go there. That is a normal punishment for that. So the punishment is not that thing. But while he is alone and feels sorry for what he did, like he actively feels sorry for what he did, God comes to him and is like, do you want to be a good guy again? Do you want to be with the others again? Then you have to like pay for your sins. And this guy proceeds to be shagged by the concept of religion. Very creative choice. And apparently it's very good to get shagged by the concept of religion. Strangely eldritch. There was some eldritch horror elements going on. It was very interesting. I liked it. It was just completely not what I was imagining. Like on it's a 30-page novella. Like a lot of that is just God being very jealous and letting this main character feel how jealous he is. And like it's a lot of you are mine, do you understand kind of things. So yeah, petition to rename this short story to In the Hands of a Very Horny God, but I liked it. 4 stars. I was not expecting that. It's been a while since I was jump scared by a book. I'm going to put this down here and hope the basil can hold you. I finished Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner, which I started back in May, and I read half of it in May. And then for some reason I just didn't get around to finishing it. There was nothing wrong with the book. The book is great. I like the book. But for some reason I just stopped reading it. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with the book, but it's hard for me to review it now because I read half of it in May and then half of it now in September. So the vibes are a bit like I still remembered everything that happened, so I didn't need to reread the first half, and it was fine for me to finish the book just that way. But this long break in between makes it hard to review the thing now. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. I liked it, but the first one was better. Namely because these are very short fantasy books, and because they are short fantasy books, they only have a very limited amount of time to do what other fantasy books have time to let breathe, right? So the God Killer book, that's the first book in the series, relied heavily on the character dynamics. And the second book should have also relied on those character dynamics. And it would have if those characters were actually together. But they weren't. They were separated for most of the time. And that is like the biggest minus point I have for the story, because the characters were all separated throughout the entire book. Like they start separated, they separate even more during the book, and then by the end they start coming back together again. So the whole vibe, the whole character dynamics could not happen because the characters weren't close to each other, which then made the book kind of sloggy. It doesn't fully suffer from second book syndrome, but it is definitely there. It has some symptoms of second book syndrome because it also felt very much like setup for book 3. There is some second book syndrome going on. I had it worse before, but definitely second book syndrome. Another thing I did not like is Kissen is presented as this god hater #1. Like, she is the #1 god hater in book 1. Rightfully so. Shit happened to her. Rightfully so. I would hate the gods too if I had suffered what she has suffered. But the thing is, in book 2, all she does is work together with gods. And it doesn't take a lot for her to do that. Her hate in book 1 is what drives her. She kills gods. That's what her profession is, and she chose that profession for a reason. And she hates God to the very last second of book 1. And then in book 2, all she does is work together with them, and it takes nothing for her to basically abandon her whole conviction of all gods are bad. She just completely does a 180. And that was, I mean, yes, it was necessary. And it is kind of interesting to see her going through that moral dilemma of hers of I hate all the gods because of what they did to me, but I have to work together with them in order to prevent worse things from happening. I think that 180 turn could have been executed a bit better to not make it so sudden, you know? So that was a bit meh. But overall I liked it. It is definitely weaker than the first one, but I still liked it. I think I gave it 3.5 or 4 stars, something along those lines. And I finished it out, finally. Now if I can get my shit together, I might actually be able to not only start but also finish this series this year, which would be amazing. I finished both of my callings. I graduated. The pain is over. I finally did it. I finished my final book for this month and for my stupid double calling run, which I did for years at this point. I finished it, and I'm so happy about it. This means freedom. So, the book that I finished, the final book that I finished, is First Sister by Lyndon A. Lewis, and it was such a good read. It was exactly what I needed after a week of reading back-to-back romances. I enjoyed this one. It was such a good send-off for this whole thing. So in First Sister, this is a sci-fi book, and we follow the first sister. She doesn't have any other name. That's like, her title is her name. She doesn't have a name. And First Sister is working on a battleship, and her job as part of this church organization is basically the job of a sex worker. She is there to keep the soldiers happy. She is taking their confessions, but she is also making sure that their bodily needs are met. That's what she's supposed to be doing. That's what she was groomed to do since she was a child. And the story starts with her having the opportunity to leave. First Sister usually only serves the captain of a ship, and she did that for the past, I think, years at this point, and that saved her from being everyone's plaything, basically. And she kind of managed to give into the illusion that her captain is actually in love with her, and he said, hey, I'm retiring, I'm getting a position planetside, and there are some rules where basically he would have been allowed to take her with him, and she would have had a peaceful life planetside and would not need to serve anyone else. And the story starts on the day where that is supposed to happen. Like, she's packing her things, her captain is retiring, and he said, I'm taking you with me, and she's about to leave, and then then she gets told, yeah, no, you are staying on the ship, he went back to his family, he abandoned you, and by the way, this is your new captain. So now she's like, oh shit, new captain means I have lost my privilege. I'm still First Sister, but I'm not yet the First Sister, only serving the captain, so she has to do it all over again. And there is shit going on between her and the other sisters. That is her side of the story. There is another side of the story where we follow a soldier from the opposite side of this war, and he has been through some shit in the past 6 months. And he is a bit disillusioned with what he's supposed to be doing, and he's a cog in the machinery, in the war machinery of his people. And even though he was basically abandoned by his own government, he's still a cog in the machinery. So he gets a mission, and the mission statement is, do this, do that, blah blah blah. Oh, by the way, if you succeed on this mission, you will be back in the good graces of your government. But in order to do that, you have to kill your former partner. And he's like, fuck. Because in their system, your partner is not just your partner, they literally have a neural link going on. They have like an implant that allows them to control their weapon, to suppress their emotions, and be like very effective. And they are also always acting in pairs. And the mission states, hey, by the way, your rapier went AWOL and we need you to kill them. And he's like, okay, I really want to be in the good graces of my government again, but also I don't want to kill my partner because So there's a lot of stress going on, and then these two sides, we follow these two sides. We follow First Sister's side of the war, and we follow the soldiers' side of the war, and there's some spy shenanigans going on, and these neuro implants are whack shit, and I can't even really describe what is happening. Just trust me. Whatever's going on is really good, and I liked it. World building is amazing. The whole politics behind absolutely everything is amazing. The twists were twisting. Also, it's genderqueer. And I mean, You cannot go wrong with being gay and overthrowing not one but two governments, right? And with that, my Orilium is done. The month of September is done. My double calling pain is done. I'm finally done torturing myself with this. Watch me do it all over again next year. But for now, I can rest. For now, I am a Demonologist and a Faewild Cartographer of the highest level. I done did it. But yeah, this has been my September wrap-up. Well, 50% of my September wrap-up. If you want to see the other 50% of what I read this month, you need to watch my Final Book Support Group video, which is already out, I believe. If you made it this far into the video, let me know what your calling was if you participated in the Orilium readathon thingamathing thing. If not, let me know what your biggest achievement this month was. And if you don't want to talk to me, leave any kind of magical emoji down in the comments below. There is an orb you can ponder, there is a wizard emoji, something like that. Anything magical, right? Cool. I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye.